Should I do this with my sleeves up or down? What do you think?
Down.
Okay, I've done
Shirt
it.
off. I'm for shirt off.
Hello, Galaxy. I'm Chris Pirillo.
Hello, Galaxy.
Well, that's actually Jedi, my daughter, and the voice in the room you heard is not Liz. It is actually Jerry. Jerry Berg. Remember Barnacules Nerdgasm?
You guys remember me.
So Jerry is here to do a geek out. We're not going to sit necessarily in the seat. He's not going to hover over me this whole time. I'm actually going to be sitting where Jedi is going to be sitting, and Jerry's going to be sitting here. Although if you get hungry, Diana's got food that you can eat, and then we can swap spots or whatever.
I'm good. I can pretty much eat anytime I want to. My mouse
Okay.
allows me that.
Dude, that's awesome. Mine doesn't. I couldn't do that.
You're a twig.
Pretty much.
That's what he eats too.
I eat more than twigs. I eat berries.
Yeah, I was gonna say last time here, your diet was heavily restricted, wasn't it? Is it still
Not
heavily
really.
restricted, or do you
No,
find it-
I'm just a vegan. So
Is it vegan? Oh, heavily restricted. I was right.
that's not heavily
I was right,
restricted.
heavily-
It's just I eat real food instead of.
But you can't eat
fake
things
food.
with souls.
Exactly, and I'm fine with that. That's
So-
a bonus.
So's PETA, apparently.
The people of tasty animals, people eating tasty animals.
That's right.
So, if you're not familiar with this particular stream format, maybe you haven't watched TLDR in a while, we do it about every weekday, every weekend. On the weekend days, we do it in the other YouTube channel, Chris
That's a lot.
Perillo's YouTube channel.
That's
I know.
a lot.
But I do live streams all the time. So, after TLDR tonight, you okay, boo?
Ooh, job opening.
You're good? Thumbs up?
Yep.
Thumbs up, everybody?
Yep,
okay.
we're good. All
So after TLDR tonight, we're going to be hopping over to my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Chris Pirillo. I auto-host Jerry. I don't know if you knew that. I don't know if you knew that. I told you just like
He does. He
15
auto-hosts
minutes
me.
ago.
I might consider auto-hosting him. I haven't decided yet.
So, yeah, you got a whole list. You're just like the only one on my list right
I
now.
think I've put like everybody in there that ever asked.
I don't do that. In fact, my Discord chat, this is Discord chat, which I know Jerry's community is certainly familiar with. Discord chat is easily accessible by either becoming a sub of mine on Twitch or a patron of mine, patreon.com/Chris Pirillo. Links are in the video description. Discord chat is open for pretty much every one of you, so long as you are a sub or a patron. Jedi is very fascinated with you right now, dude. Like, insanely fascinated. Okay, so let me hit stop.
She's not
here.
shy anymore either, so I get
no.
hugs.
Oh no, she's definitely taking after daddy. Okay, so you know the rigmarole. We got chat there. We got chat back there. It's two separate chats. YouTube, Discord. I'm gonna let you drive.
All right.
And ask you, for the sake of those who have not tuned in as of late, what have you been up to?
Well, I've been slowly making my little comeback to the internet. I've been kind of on and offline for a while now. A lot of people's favorite joke to make is that, wait, you make videos?
That was me. We're doing it in a different way.
Now everybody says it. Everybody says, but hey, I've put out 3 videos in the last 3 days, so I am making a comeback.
Sorry.
What have you done, Chris?
It was an echo.
Good. I thought this was a professional studio,
Yeah,
man.
right.
But you guys don't realize this is actually a double-wide trailer. We just put the cardboard that's painted behind us and stuff to make it look fancy. That's not even a real screen. That's CGI.
Those aren't real lights.
Those are not real lights. No, they are not. I'm surprised those haven't all burned out, honestly. I'm getting a picture right now. Getting a picture. Hold on. You hold on. Getting a picture. Picture time. I always stop when I see a camera pointing at me. So anyways, what I'm working on is I'm getting back into making videos, unboxings, maker videos, gadget stuff, and Windows videos.
What is it? $1 billion PC?
Not $1 billion PC, a $13,000 PC.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was only off by, $1 million.
No, but it is quite literally the fastest computer you can build for running Adobe Premiere. So if you do video editing in Adobe Premiere, this is the fastest computer you can do. They did all the research down to the core, the hard drives in it are NVMe storage, which is the fastest storage there is, short of like Intel's, I forget whatever the hell they call it, Intel's new storage technology that they have. But I have 3 of the NVMe drives in there, 128 gigabytes of RAM, 14 physical cores, 28 logical cores, and 2 Titan XP graphics cards, which are the fastest production gaming graphics cards there are. It's a good computer. It'll be solid.
I'm fine with my pocket computer.
Yeah, and everybody's giving me crap because they're like, all you do in your videos is jump cuts and zooms. You don't need a supercomputer for that. And I'm like, you wouldn't take a supercomputer if you could have one for editing that stuff. Come on, folks. Let's be real here.
Careful with that.
Dude, you use a Mac. Nobody's going to listen to you when it comes to PC advice.
Well, that's because I don't give PC advice.
Is she trying to zoom the camera?
No, she actually yanked it off the table the other day. I'm hoping that that's not going to happen again. I think we learned our lesson.
Uh-oh.
Probably not, though.
Uh-oh. Well, you know what? I think I sent everybody to the wrong channel, didn't I? Or did I just retweet it? Hold on, guys. Well, I go tell people where to come see this because
Yeah.
I want to see if they'll actually show up.
I'm not sure they will, Jerry.
You know, I'm guessing 3 out of 1,000 is what I'm going for here.
Actually, it's better than I
That'd be a
could
good
hope
turnout.
for.
That'd be a good turnout. So what, this is on the LockerGnome channel?
Yeah, there's the Twitter
And I tweeted
handle.
from LockerGnome.
Right.
All right, well, I'm going to go look at my feed right now.
See, I try to manage multiple channels because otherwise I can't do enough videos in a day. I have a problem with doing too many things. I need to narrow it down.
I have a problem with thinking of doing too many things and then not doing any of them.
Oh, man.
I think, what's the word for that? It starts with a P, ends with Astonation?
Yes.
Was it? Yeah, something like that.
Shrog said, did you start up Houston at home yet, Jerry? I know you just brought it home.
No, I just got the PC home today. It's sitting in the box at the base of my staircase because I couldn't be bothered to take it upstairs. I might unbox it next week or in like a couple weeks and turn it on, just see if it works, and then go in the closet. No, people think I really do that stuff with my technology. No, I don't. And no, you cannot have William, the old computer. I've gotten about 1,000 requests to have the old
You're
computer.
gonna give it to me.
No.
Oh.
Stop trying to steal my computers. That's going to be my secondary computer driving the screen that's above the 350-inch screen. So the ultra-wide that's up above is going to be driven by a whole nother computer. Even though the primary computer is more than capable of running it all, I just want to do it for funsies.
See,
and to troll people.
Probably the only person who wants to eliminate technology from my life. I like streamlined, simple, straightforward. Not big, small, easy, straight shooting.
Well, we know you're an iPhone user and that you have...
Really? Am I an iPhone user?
You have some Apple products here on your desk.
Am I an iPhone user?
Wait, hold on. Let's see what you got.
Am I an iPhone user, Jerry? Am I an iPhone user?
Wait, what?
Am
Hold
I?
on here.
It's been
what?
a while, Jerry.
Wait. Hold on. It's been a while since I've been over here. It's been a year since I've been over here. Why do you not have an iPhone in your pocket?
Well, that is an interesting story. Sorry, I had to scroll Discord. Sometimes it freezes up.
Yes, I did.
Feel free to ask questions naturally.
Oh,
Hey,
goodness.
this is Geek Out. That is allowed. That is fair play.
True.
That is fair play, and yes, I did. And it was like literally like 15 minutes after I got home with the snowflake. It was awesome. Thank you. Thank you for asking and being concerned.
So Jerry hasn't watched the whole debacle around how I have migrated effectively from iOS to Android by and large.
Which, okay, guys, literally, I am surprised that I am here with a pulse right now. I would have thought that the asteroid would have struck the planet hard enough to kill every piece of life. What would prompt you? Because I haven't really been following a lot of the stuff you've been doing, Chris. What prompted you to switch to Android? Because if I had asked you that same question a year ago, you would have literally stood on a chair and screamed bloody murder at me about how Android is such a piece of junk and blah, blah, blah. And you might have alluded to the point that maybe Apple was kind of going towards Android because you were kind of even pissed at Apple back then. But what finally was the nail in the coffin that was like, you know what? I'm going to give me an Android.
I think it was just seeing that iOS 11 really wasn't any better than iOS 10. Do you need a tissue, baby? I wasn't talking to you, Jerry. I was talking to my daughter.
Oh, I'll take a tissue anytime.
I'm never
I like free
going
things.
to call you baby.
Craft
Ever.
services?
We'll be calling you baby. She's fine. She's fine.
You're okay?
Challenge accepted, Chris. Challenge accepted. I'll get him to call me baby.
You will not.
Hey, Liz, will you call me
ever
baby?
Called baby by me.
I always call you baby.
There we go.
Baby.
See, I just got him to one down, one to go.
I just never really thought that Apple was going to change its tune, and I don't think they have. And
I don't think they can. I don't think it's a matter of that.
software.
I don't think they can.
I think they can. I just don't think they will. It's. I understand they've got a larger install base. They got
Yep.
a lot to worry about, but they just seem to be a ship without a captain.
Do you think that they suffer from the same problem that Microsoft did, where they just got so complacent that they're just like, there ain't really isn't any challenge out there. We're just going to stick with whatever we can and just make our way to $1 trillion company.
And I think the iPhone 10, specifically how they approached software design, is a slap in the face. And basically, people, if they're willing to pay the price, the premium, they're basically saying, haha, you will pay anything that, we set the price at.
The thing they got to be careful is, boy, that is going to bite them so hard. Because here, let's rewind a little bit back to something I'd like to call, not Windows Phone, Windows Mobile. Remember the difference? Windows Mobile 6.5, the last iteration of Microsoft's first generation smartphones. When the iPhone came out, the generation gap between the original iPhone, and the Windows 6.5 was so far that it was astronomical. It was literally Star Trek technology versus Flintstones. And Microsoft had, 6 years of basically that same platform that they could have been improving it and doing what Apple did. And they didn't because there was no other really competitors. They didn't feel that they had any challenge or competition. And it just took, boom, just one thing coming out and it just decimated them. And they never caught up. They tried to do what? The Windows Phone. They tried to get the what was that crappy little device that they bought that lasted for like 2 weeks before they recalled them all? It was
I remember.
You know what I'm talking about?
It was
Yeah,
a short word. No.
something like that. The Kin.
The Kin. That was what it was. Yeah.
Microsoft like thought, oh man, this Kin's gonna change everything because it targets kids and kids love it and you can game on it. Blah blah. It lasted like 2 weeks. They recalled them all. All the carriers dropped them. I mean, it was like biggest probably cellular disaster in history. And now, Windows Phone's shutting down. I mean, they're not being, they haven't said it, but I can tell you right now, just from seeing the behavior and being a silent observer, Windows Phone is dead. It is. You will not see that platform evolve anymore. That platform's just going to fizzle out.
Belfiore pretty much said.
Yeah, it's gone.
We've got our first super chat, by the way.
Ooh, do we now?
Jerry's opinion as a software developer about iOS.
You know what? This is actually a great question. My opinion of iOS is that it's actually really good. And this is strange because a lot of people say, why don't I run Android? Well, my second phone's an Android. I have a OnePlus 3 that I use as my secondary phone. It has a SIM in it and everything, and I use it for like business stuff. The reason I use an iOS device on my primary phone is because iOS has had such a small hardware base that they only had to write the software to run on a very limited number of devices. As a software developer myself, you don't realize how much a giant hardware... what would you call it? Like the matrix. A giant hardware matrix can screw you over. Every time you add a new device, you're adding if conditions and conditional things and stuff to the code that bloats the code to make it work on that device and to mitigate any of the differences between those devices. Even just having an iPhone and an iPad, for instance, effectively doubles the work that you have to do to test that code base effectively. Now they've got what? The watch, which effectively is still running on iOS. You've got the iPads, you've got the phones, you got the iPad Pro, you got Apple TV. Now they're starting to integrate some of the iOS elements and the emulation into their main platform, OS X. As they add more devices and they keep building onto that, and they add stuff like the Apple Pencil, for instance, and stuff like that, that starts complicating the code base. And you'll start to notice that it slows down on the older devices, even doing the same exact things. And it's because of all that additional bloat. But that aside, I have to say the reason I liked iOS, and still do to some degree, but I'll agree with you that it's gone way, way downhill. And I knew the second Steve died, it was going to be like whatever Tim Cook had left written in Steve's notebook that he pilfered from his corpse before they buried him. That was like all they had to go on. And once that's gone, now Tim Cook's driving on his own. Now, on the flip side, I think Tim Cook's actually the right CEO for Apple. I think Tim Cook's actually the right person to be in that place, but I don't think he has the right mentality in the team to do what Steve did, and everybody expects him to. Yeah. So they need to find another Steve. They literally need to go up into the mountains to some Buddhist monastery and wave a $100 bill in there and see if someone bites. If only it were so simple.
Yeah, I find that Android is far more elegant a platform. I feel more productive on it.
On the right device.
Well, yeah, no. Well, okay, here's the thing.
Because Android changes dramatically from device to device.
It does, but that's why I'm using a Pixel.
Yeah.
Because I'm a software guy, and I understand the purity of the software, and I don't want to have an overlay. OnePlus may have had it right. I'm a little concerned about some...
Well, they did the cyanogen, right? They did their own cooked version.
Now they're on oxygen.
Oh, I didn't know that they came back. That must have been after OnePlus 3. Is that like the 4 and the 5?
So, okay. And they just announced the 5T.
Yeah.
I've eyeballed it at a distance, but I'm not the type of person that just buys devices willy-nilly. So I'm satisfied enough with the Pixel software experience. And just comparing the 8... the 8 Plus side-by-side with the Pixel 2 XL, there's no comparison. Like, it's just... Apple's just so far behind the curve in terms of software performance.
Well, even honestly in hardware. I mean, Apple hasn't done any revolutionary. The only thing they've done that's even remotely revolutionary is the screen. And the only thing I'd say revolutionary about it is the fact that they created a screen that isn't square. Like, I mean, okay, props to you, Apple, but the brightness on it isn't good compared to the other devices. The Note is nearly 4 times as bright.
Right.
I don't believe it's OLED, is it?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, it is OLED. Yeah, okay, good.
Pentile.
Awesome.
Right.
Awesome, Apple.
Pentile. So we do have another super chat from Legwork.
Oh, that's one of my guys.
Mispronouncing. Oh, cool.
One of them came over.
Jerry, beer bottle on a coaster. You're not in the man cave now. No, don't worry about it. This desk has seen better days.
You shut your mouth. I do what I want. Chris ain't going to stop me. He weighs one-third of my mass. Okay? Although he might have a taser. I don't know. I heard vegans carry tasers.
I generally don't. I may toothpick you, possibly.
I heard you guys all carry cattle prods to punish the meat eaters.
We do have a lightsaber. We can do that. No, honestly, I don't pass judgment.
I know. Chris, ready? Boy, don't I know. Well, if Chris may have forgotten in the last year, but I like to poke fun at absolutely everybody. It's what I do, mostly myself.
Christopher Miller Says, hey, Chris and Jerry, love that you're back, Jerry. Great video. Say hi to Diana, Jedi, Mrs. Barnacules, and Xander.
You bet I will.
It's a nice little shout out from Christopher. It's been, if you told me last year this is what I would be like today, like carrying an Android device as a daily driver, talking about how, well, I was years ago talking about how Apple was losing its way, but changing my entire lifestyle and leaning vegan. I don't know how I would have been able to.
You don't drive a Prius anymore, right?
No, I haven't for years. I think the next car I'm going to get though is going to be electric.
Oh, well, Tesla?
Yeah, no, it's not going to be the Roadster that they announced last night. I'm like, who needs that? It goes from 0 to 60 in 2 seconds. Who needs that?
Hey guys, I've looked at Chris's stats. He qualifies as poor people now.
There's no doubt about that.
Chris is grandfathered into his lifestyle right now. Trust me.
There's a reason I eat potatoes. They're cheap.
Mm-hmm.
They're good.
I get that a lot too. Everybody looks at me. They're like, "Man, $13,000 computer, all those 3D printers. You must be rich." And I'm like, "Dude, they're sitting in a house that's like a $250,000 house in a neighborhood where the next cheapest house is $100,000 more."
Vartan3 asks, Barnacules, your opinion on the recent streaming cable packages like Sling, Hulu, YouTube TV, DirecTV?
Dude, I like your audience. They're actually like hitting on the questions I like.
No, this is a well-groomed audience. In Discord, at least.
I subscribed to YouTube TV. Garbage. Absolute garbage. Would not recommend it to anybody at this point. And the reason being is you end up paying for it. They flood you with more commercials than even if you were on cable. They didn't have the shows, the timing and the drop of shows. It's the same as all the other services that offer the same thing. There was just nothing there that I considered a draw, and their menu system and the way you navigated and you found your shows and everything was absolutely abysmal compared to the competition. But I tried it. I still tried their trial, and I'm glad that it was available in my area and the video quality was decent. Hulu, absolute staple in my household. I have my services I use are Hulu and Netflix because they contrast each other. Netflix is going to die, though. We all know Netflix is going out the window. Did you hear about that?
What?
Disney's pulling out of Netflix.
Oh, no.
But that is like stuff. Literally 50% of their library, like their streaming metrics or whatever, they lies on those Disney movies. Oh. And it's not just Disney. All the other big movie houses. Have you guys noticed how like all the other like really good AAA titles that were on Netflix are all starting to disappear? They're all going away. Like, and I haven't heard any announcement from like. What is it, like all the Marvel movies and stuff like that?
Right. Well,
like
Disney.
Right, Disney. That's coming out. What was the other? A movie that I actually watched on there was Idiocracy, which is one of my all-time favorite movies. Gone.
It's now
no longer life.
There. It's now a documentary.
It is. It's now a documentary. But the thing is all these everybody's pulling out of Netflix, and they're like what $20 billion in debt or something ridiculous, like some crazy number. There's no way they could ever come back. And the only reason a company would buy them, honestly, to acquire them would be for the name. Like I can see Microsoft like putting in a bid as they're drowning.
Or
Apple. I could see Apple acquire. I mean, Apple is currently the most profitable company on planet Earth, right? I think, or is it just in tech?
No, they're.
I think it's on Earth because they're like going to be everybody's saying they're going to be the first $1 trillion corporation on the planet.
They are.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Holy crap! So they've got the money to start buying companies, and the truth is, it's easier to acquire a company that already has an established code base and technology to utilize than it is to build one from the ground up. And Microsoft knew this a long time ago, and that's why they acquired companies like Skype. That's why they acquired, what was it, the AT&T Active Voice or True Voice or whatever that they use for Cortana. Cortana's voice, they didn't do the text-to-speech that sounds like a real human being. That was actually brought in from another company that they absorbed. Link, their internal system, GitHub, all of these things that the company uses, they acquire those companies out of a necessity and a need for the technology.
GitHub?
I think they're partnered with GitHub. I don't think they own GitHub.
I don't think it's an ownership thing.
Honestly, I think they will at some point because the entire Windows code base right now is actually using GitHub.
Really? How can they pull that off?
I mean, Little Bird told me. I could be completely wrong, but I know I'm not. But no, it is. They are actually using GitHub as their source management system. They moved away from Source Depot, which was their in-house homebrew solution they used for years.
It must have been like fantastic because like when I've worked with Microsoft in the past, it's all Microsoft stuff. Like they wouldn't even deal with me as a vendor unless I was running Microsoft stuff. Yeah,
but the other funny irony about it is that Windows is built using Active Perl, which is licensed from another company.
What?
Time Build, the script that actually builds Windows, and still builds it today, even with GitHub, they couldn't get away from that entirely. The script that actually builds Windows and plugs all the pieces together is called timebuild.pl. And it's a 10,000-line script, I know because I used to work on it, that uses something called Active Perl, because the script is written in Perl, because the original build engineers that built the scripts and maintained the scripts liked Perl. So Microsoft has an active license for Perl to build Windows. So Windows would not be here without Active Perl.
Interesting.
Isn't that funny?
Learn something new every day.
So, and the Source Depot was their own technology. Microsoft did that all in-house, but now they use GitHub. But the irony of that is Visual Studio already has a fully built-in source control system that uses the Azure backend. It also has a build environment that you can do for deployed builds. So if you want in Visual Studio and you have 1,000 computers, you can say, hey, go build my code on 1,000 computers in 2 seconds. But they could never get it to work with a code base as big as Windows. So that's why they had to move off of it and do a homebrew thing.
I think the last time I used Windows was right around March.
Yeah. Not a lot of projects are as big as operating systems. Operating systems kind of ball on a whole different level when it comes to, like, you might look at like GTA 5 or something like that. It's like, oh, 50 gigabytes or 60 gigabytes for these games. That's not code. That's textures. That's, that's like the texture packs, the sounds, the dialogue, all the stuff. That's the supporting content. The actual code and the binaries in it, Windows is mostly that. Like when you look at an operating system, the majority of the code is all the distributed libraries and the executables and everything that builds it up. And I think when I was there, they said that Windows was, I think it was 100 million lines of code or something. I think that was like back in like Windows 8.1. So Windows 10, I'm sure it's grown tremendously past that.
Do you watch Rick and Morty?
Dude, I've watched every episode at least 4 times.
I tried to get into it. Someone, T-Tom60 or 660 is asking, what are you expecting season 4? And I tried, and I can't.
How many episodes did you watch?
Like 2 or 3.
See, that's where you went wrong. The first 2 episodes are hands down terrible. Like you watch them and you're like, no, these don't even actually, because they correct me if I'm wrong here, guys, but this is how I felt watching it. It seemed like the first episode doesn't fit at all now with the storyline. Like, at all. It's like, the first one, it's like they tried something, they went a little over the top, they tried to be really weird, and it just didn't work. And then the second episode was kind of like meh. Third episode, it started to get a little better, but it wasn't until I got to like the 5th or 6th episode that I was like, this is probably like one of the most brilliant things I've ever seen in writing. And then after season 3, you're just like, jaw dropped.
Okay,
I'll gotta stick with it.
I'll binge on it again.
And the funny thing is, it's like you're I consider you an intellectual guy, kind of a loudmouth, stand on a chair kind of intellectual guy, but he's an intellectual guy.
I'll take that as a
and
compliment.
as you should, sir. And Rick and Morty really plays on that intelligence because they have a lot of these little undertones and everything all over the place. Where you're watching, where you'll watch it again and again, and every time you'll notice something a bit different in the background that'll click. And it's all based kind of in reality. Even when they're talking about like the portal gun and moving between dimensions and everything like that, they do it in such a way where if you watch all the episodes, they don't do like, say, like Stargate Atlantis. I love Stargate Atlantis, but like every other episode, they screw something up and go against their own technology and how it works. And it's like they don't do a very good job of continuity. Rick and Morty's continuity is amazing because they've created all of the scapegoats right up front that can explain away any inconsistency. And then they intentionally make inconsistencies so you'd be like, I got you. And then right after you say that, he's like, oh, but, and you're like, oh, damn, he heard me. Because they know they did that intentionally to lure you into that situation. It's amazing.
Sorry, someone's asking about more Codegasms, and I'm scrolling because Discord needed to...
So, we shot Codegasm episode 2 of the Unity series. I don't know if you knew, Chris, but we developed a game that's coming out for Christmas called Quick Splat Barnacules. It's a game where you basically smash my face in on the phone. And not the trolls. You missed the trolls. You smash my face, not the trolls, which I think the logic on that's a little messed up. But, hey, we'll talk to Greg about it, my lead developer. But the game is almost ready. It's in beta testing right now on iOS and Android. And what we're doing is we're trying to teach people the Unity framework, the framework we used for developing this video game. And so episode 1 was out, where we show you how to install Visual Studio and how to set up the environment. I should go one step further. My Codegasm episodes would even teach you how to program the game. We don't go into any details on actual code. We don't talk about polymorphism and inheritance and even the variable types we completely ignore. We literally go through it step by step and do 90% of it and actually dragging and dropping and changing values in fields.
See, that's me. Like if on the iPad, like what is it? Playgrounds, Swift Playgrounds.
Oh, I've heard of it. I haven't done it yet, but yeah.
Something that when Jedi gets of age to be able to start messing around with that, I have a feeling that's where it's going to come back for me, because I did the basics on the C64, and that's where it began and ended. Maybe some DOS.
Unity's very Lego Mindstorm. Drag and drop the blocks and connect them together. You can still do the hardcore coding on the back end to tweak stuff and make it anything you want. Don't get me wrong, because usually when you have a cookie cutter system like that, it robs you of functionality. But that's not true. What they do is they give you that on the top, and then you can modify it and go down to any granularity you want. If you want to go down to base system code and tinker with it, they'll let you do it. But one of the things I really like about Unity is I was able to create a pinball game in Unity in 20 minutes from start to finish.
Huh.
And I didn't write single line. Oh, no, sorry. No, I didn't. I didn't write a single line of code, because what I did is I created the bumpers, which were I just imported some graphics I had sitting there. I just said, make them solid so that nothing can pass through them. And then I enabled gravity so that they fall down like this. And then I literally just put a physical peg underneath it and here so that it has to bang into it. And then I just drop a ball from the top. And that's it. And all I have is a ball graphic that's a sprite that I assign physics to. It does all the physics for you. So you just say, this is a world, I want regular gravity, the play field is like this, and I want everything in its path to have be a certain type of material, whether it's like metal and really abrasive to hit something, or if it's rubber and absorbs energy. So, but all that's configurable. So you could literally make an entire game, and you can make the whole world. If you want to make Mario Brothers, you'd literally just draw the entire world. You'd say, these parts of the world are solid, these parts of the world you can pass through, this is Mario, he can move left and right, and then you're done. You got Mario Brothers without scoring. So it's really neat how they did it. But the Unity framework is responsible for probably about 80% of the indie games that you play on any handheld device.
So, have you been keeping up on, WebAssembly? Like, in terms of being able to port a lot of that stuff, even the powerful stuff, to the web?
Not WebAssembly entirely, but I know Unity has its own little thing, too, to basically, like an emulator.
Not even an emulator. I think you can run.
This is like straight up HTML5 kind of stuff?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely. The browsers finally, all the major browsers pretty much support it.
Well, the nice thing about Unity is all of the code's written in one of two things. It's either JavaScript or C#. Those are the two main languages that they use for manipulating the language itself. Or I should say not the language, but manipulate the framework, the Unity framework. So the fact that JavaScript was one of the languages that they chose tells me that should be something that's easily ported to the web. Because it's all just objects and HTML5. I mean, the cool thing about HTML5 is you can write really complicated JavaScript, and as long as it doesn't try to leave the browser, it pretty much lets anything go. If you try to access a file outside of the browser or something that's not within the protected storage, it'll yell at you and be like, no, you can't do that, like you could in a standalone game. But for the most part, as long as you're keeping everything self-contained and it's in a unit and it can't leave the web browser, it'll let you pretty much do anything, and use 3D accelerated graphics too, which is cool.
Someone was asking your opinion on Ubuntu.
I used to really love Ubuntu. I'd say that Ubuntu was probably, next to Debian, was probably my favorite distribution of Linux. However, since I haven't used Linux for years and years and years, when I went back to it, I found that I've forgotten a lot of the hardcore stuff, which was you really needed to know. Back then, now I use Mint. And Mint, I know people are probably like shaking their head right now, because Mint is literally Fisher-Price Linux. But it's every bit as powerful as all the other distributions. Its package management system is even more elegant than what Windows has for installing and removing packages. And it's very easy to use. The entire thing can pretty much be manipulated through the UI, like a Windows-like UI. So yeah, Mint.
Is it really that much of a difference between all the flavors of Linux?
Oh, hugely.
I see them, but like...
Well, from the standpoint of...
user...
Okay, so Linux. Okay, so when somebody says Linux, all they're literally talking about is the kernel and the modules around it. That's it, right?
This is Linux, right?
Yeah.
This Android device.
Exactly. Well, it's a what do they call it? A fork. It's a fork of Linux.
It's Linux.
So it probably started as something closer to whatever Linux was back when Android started, and they probably haven't gone back since. Just like Unix, right? The Unix and Linux. You're like, well, what's the difference?
Those are two different things.
They are two different things, but they both came from the same genesis. So did BSD. They all forked from the same thing, which was God, I can't even remember off the top of my head. Not Solaris. What was it? It'll come to me. But anyways, all three of those forked off the one, and then they all became radically different things as they moved away from each other. But the one thing that they all share in common is they're all text-based at their lowest level, and even the shells that are put on top of that text-based UI are different between them. Like Linux has Bash. I think Unix has Bash too, but there's a couple of other ones Unix has. And those can radically change, even just in the text environment alone. And each one of those change the commands you have and everything.
No, I understand the differences in like nuances, but like when someone asks about Ubuntu or Mint or like Knoppix used to be one that I loved because you could run it as a live distribution on a CD.
Yeah,
that was a lot of fun.
Well, the biggest problem is they're missing. It's the state of the missing components. So, like, if you install Mint, for instance, and you go try to compile something, it might say you're missing, like, 20 dependencies, right? So you have to import those dependencies where, like, something like Debian or something like that, you could actually, more dependencies are going to be inbox, and how you install those dependencies. The package managers are different between them also. Red Hat used to have the coolest package management system from the command line. You'd just be like, install, whatever, this Unity. And it would just go, do you mean this Unity, this Unity, this Unity? Yeah, I want the third one. And it would go install it and compile it and install, and it'd be ready to go. Now they all have it. Like even Mint has like a graphical package manager that you literally just list a million packages, select them, and go.
But does anybody care?
Hardcore Linux guys, yes. Me,
That's
no.
it, right?
No.
It's like for my usage,
yeah.
I'm fine with at least Google's take on Android.
Yeah.
And up until recently, I had the Pixelbook. I tried the Pixelbook. I thought I was ready to use it, and I was. Mm-hmm. It was just terribly overpriced.
Oh God, yes. And the thing like Android is like you said, if you use Cyanogen or something like that, you'd notice that a lot of the user interface stuff and how you interact with the device is radically different. Like if you handed a Cyanogen device to somebody, an Android device, they may even mistake them as two completely different products, even though they're not. Same thing with the Linux distributions. Like Mint has its own proprietary desktop manager and everything, and looks completely different than all the other ones.
And Ubuntu apparently is choosing a new one soon.
Yeah, and they used to use, I think they used to use one of the standardizers like KDE. Yeah, GNOME and KDE.
Someone else, what about Chrome OS?
Chrome OS, we were just talking about Chrome OS. Okay, wait, why do you laugh about Chrome OS? I think it's very valid. I mean, for a certain price point, I think it's more of a usable Linux distro, if I can say that, than I think even Ubuntu, because I think Ubuntu is almost too powerful for the average user.
But Chrome OS is a locked down Linux.
But that's fine.
Linux you don't lock down.
Okay,
Linux
okay,
is built to not be locked down.
Okay,
yeah.
I hear you, and I don't disagree with you, but in terms of someone not messing something up, I think Chrome OS is a better distribution than, say, something like Ubuntu, where they can more easily mess something up.
You know what Chrome OS is? You know what Chrome OS is? It's the most minimal amount of operating system to get Chrome running. That's it. The web browser.
That's it.
It's basic. But I mean, I could take Windows and I could just go in and put in a group policy that says you can't open anything but Chrome, and I just created Chrome OS.
You've still got you've got so much overhead. You've got so much
fair enough. Yeah.
Wasted code base, bit rot, and wasted stuff. So to me, this is the same approach I think that I look at when I see like iOS on an iPhone or Android on an Android phone, I guess, for the lack of a better word for that, a smartphone. It's everything the average person needs, which is why this kind of device, this type of device, is a primary computing system for anybody. Anything beyond that is
But then
overkill.
why do you want that on a laptop? Like, use your phone, use your tablet.
No. I'm not the use case for that. I think that the average user would have to question, why would I need a laptop versus why would I need something like an iPad?
I think the biggest problem they're going to run into with Chrome OS is that people are going to assume that it's going to be able to do more than it can. Just like Windows RT. Remember that train wreck?
Yeah, well, hang on. But Windows RT stunted itself. Like, people went into Windows RT thinking it was Windows, thinking they could run legacy apps on it, and they really couldn't.
Right, but Chrome OS has the letters OS in it, which means it's an operating system.
But
it should be Chrome Browser.
No.
Or Browser OS. How about Browser OS?
Hang on, because on the Pixelbook, and I'm actually interested in finding a more usable...
The Pixelbook's the $1,000 Chromebook, right?
But even half that, the price is not justified.
No.
But even half that price... or like a $300 system, you could run Android apps. And I was running Android apps seamlessly on the desktop.
Curated Android apps.
No.
Only what they have in their store.
Right, but still, what more do you need?
I want to be able to go to another marketplace and run my own programs. I want to be able to write my own software and run it on it.
I don't think that's the average user, though. I think I'm an edge case.
I don't want you to have a Chromebook. You know why I don't want you to have a Chromebook? Because now for me to get an app on your Chromebook, I have to get Google to accept it and put it in the marketplace. I want to just be able to give you a floppy disk, Chris.
Really?
Or we'll call them USB thumb
the
drives these days.
I don't want to support technology the way that you do. I don't want to be my family's tech support. So I want to.
Why do you got to be a dick, Chris? Why you got to be a dick?
Because that's my middle name. Because I work for the Navy and I do skywriting. Did you catch that today?
No, I didn't.
Oh my God, you missed it!
No, what happened? I got to hear this stuff.
Hang on, Jerry. Turn to the chat and answer a
I gotta hear
question.
this.
And I'm gonna pull this up.
Randy asked a question.
All right. Hey, what's up, Randy? You said, any thoughts on doing a podcast? I enjoyed your interview on the Geek and Dad's podcast. You basically talked most of it, but it was great. I am a loudmouth. I talk a lot. It's what I do. Everybody asks me why I can talk for 4 hours continuously every day on my show, even if nobody's talking to me. It's because I have ADHD. Get ADHD. Infect yourself with ADHD and you will not have that problem. But anyways, have I thought about doing a podcast? Yes. It's called taking the video off my Twitch stream and publishing it to SoundCloud. That's going to be my podcast.
That's what I do.
Because, I mean, Morning Coffee is just a podcast with video, right? I mean, for all intents and purposes, you don't need the video. I'm harassing scammers and talking about things.
Hang on. That really happened.
Can I show that?
No.
Come on.
I got to keep this advertising. We'll do it on Twitch when it's Chris Pirillo Uncensored.
How is that not advertiser friendly, Chris?
Has a question, and we can only call him Fucho here.
Do you think there's still hope for the Microsoft Continuum project? I have no idea what that is. What is it?
Hold on here. I was getting over his name.
Fucho.
Fucho.
Okay, Fucho. I know what you were going for there, bro. Do you think there is still hope for Microsoft's Continuum project? I've heard of Continuum, but I can't remember. I'm curious because the name is very, very familiar to me.
Did Randy have a question? I probably skipped it here.
Hold on here. We're gonna.
About the podcast.
I just need to figure out what the code name was for. Once I know the actual product, it'll make sense. All right, let's see. It is dun, 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 drum roll. See, this is what I don't like about iOS 11.
I just don't like it.
It just hangs. iPhones don't hang. That's like the whole purpose of them is they're not supposed to hang.
Not anymore. So it's Continuum, Microsoft.
Yeah, Continuum.
Continuum. Was that the idea that it could just be like the computer? I think it was the phone that you plug in and it docks and it becomes a full-on Windows desktop.
Oh, okay. So I actually remember seeing that at the company meeting. We didn't have any involvement with that project, but I do believe it ran a full Windows 10 kernel. And it used the same technology as RT did. It was based on the ARM devices and the small computing devices. As far as I know, that project actually got integrated into Windows Phone, and there was an actual Nokia device that was sold to the public that could do it. As far as them pursuing it, no. The Windows Phone project is dead for all intents and purposes. You're not going to see anything new come out of Windows Phone. They literally absorbed Nokia and killed like one of the biggest cell phone companies in the known universe. And they haven't really shown any huge innovation, step forward, or improvement in the Windows Phone. And the Windows Phone division, a lot of my friends work there, or worked there, has been drastically downsizing and reposturing and repositioning. So, and they wouldn't be doing that if the project was like off to a hell of a start and they were continuing it on. They just wouldn't be.
So, no Surface Phone. I can't imagine there being one. I think we're at the bottom now.
Oh, we are? Okay.
Yeah. We're pretty much there.
No Surface. Oh, no. Let me rephrase it. Yeah, there'll absolutely be a Surface Phone, but it won't be a phone and it won't be a Surface because Microsoft just calls everything Surface now. Okay, let me tell you why I say that. Microsoft's original Surface, which was a product that was for sale that not many people knew about, was a giant writing style Surface with a proprietary Microsoft Surface OS that they created, and the technology that it was encompassing was the tracking of multiple fingers and objects. That was Surface. Now Surface is your little laptop. Now Surface is your little tablet. Now Surface is this giant thing that sits on your desk that's a drawing. Artistic Surface runs Windows 10. They call everything Surface now. And so it's very, very confusing. So as far as there being a Surface Phone, I don't think so. I don't think that'll happen.
What do you think about products like Google Home? It's like the smart speaker thing.
Well, Microsoft has an entire home automation division, so I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't come out with something. But another weird thing at Microsoft is they have a lot of divisions that have never actually produced a good a product that's gone to market. Microsoft's really good at research and development, not so much at execution and getting the product out. Some of the cool things that I saw in Microsoft R&D when I was working there was about 10 years ago, they had real-time head tracking using neodymium magnets that sat on your head, and it registered the magnetic field. And so it was absolutely real time. The processing power for it was negligible. So you didn't, with cameras and stuff, you have to like look at it and create a scatter map and do all this stuff. So it's very, very heavy to look at an image leg free and be able to move something around. Well, they figured out how to do it with like 4 neodymium magnets and this little thing that reads a light magnetic field and cancels out like the Earth's magnetic field. The box was like this big on top of the monitor, and you could literally move your head around like this as fast as you possibly could, and the screen would move absolutely one-to-one perfect in real time. And now, 10 years later, we have the Kinect, which has like a half a second of lag. Doesn't work nearly as good. I mean, granted, it's different technology, right? It tracks like the image of you. But I'm just saying, Microsoft has developed a lot of really cool things. Or that I saw was they had the 50 megapixel camera back when like the highest megapixel you get was 5. They had a 50 megapixel camera that they developed that was a small enough form factor to actually fit in a phone. And they demoed that, and I was like, well, why? I mean, maybe it was cost or production or something like that, but they demoed it, and it's like, I never saw it.
So what do you think of Google Fuchsia? This is a super chat just came in with from Slick Like Ninja.
What is Fuchsia?
Okay, so I have to explain it.
Right.
So it's effectively Google's own restart of what they envision as a platform.
Okay.
So they've effectively scrapped everything. Well, okay. They haven't scrapped it. Obviously, they're still running with Android and Chrome OS and everything.
This is their attempt to build a ground-up operating system.
Effectively, yeah, they've eliminated Linux as the foundation and have started.
Which is actually good because one of their biggest problems is vulnerabilities, and it has been on the Android since day one. And that's because when you have an open source project that relies on so many open source elements,
and dependencies and fragmentation, so they're taking all of the seemingly, perceivably, all the mistakes they made with Chrome OS and Android, and trying to do it right from the start. Okay. So they've actually made it far enough along that they have like working like elements and prototypes. Yep. Maybe a couple years away from seeing basically a true Google platform that would be scaled from a watch all the way up to a computer system, like I'm sorry, traditional computer system. So what do you think about Google doing that then?
Knowing what I know about software development, especially for operating systems, I'm going to say that that's going to be a hard sell, and they're going to have to compromise on it, and eventually it still will have a lot of elements from Android. I don't think they'll be able to do a ground up, and the reason being is they won't be able to catch their velocity will slow so much while they're trying to obtain that goal. Because think about it. The reason why you buy an Android or the reason why you buy an iOS isn't for the operating system. It's for the apps that you can run, the games that you can run, the add-on software, if you will. Well, if Google's creating the operating system from the ground up, that means they're going to have to solicit developers to write code for the platform and write apps. Well, chicken before the egg. How do you get people to want to write apps for a platform that has no users? Because the users don't want a platform that doesn't have any apps. And you can't get the developers to write the apps because nobody has them to write them for yet. So
I wonder if the distant being 2 years, the distant future for Google, because technology moves so fast, is they're building the Pixel program. They're building their Nest ecosystem, such that they'll be ready. I mean, in terms of people already having the devices or wanting the devices, the new thing as the viable alternative to iOS or, let's say, Android.
I think that when iPhone came out with they had the same problem, right? When iPhone came with iOS, they created a granted, it probably has some elements in it that were borrowed from other things, but iOS, for all intents and purposes, is pretty ground up. They had quite a few apps on day one that they produced themselves. They got you interested in the phone and brought you into the phone. The only thing is remember back then, the only thing that was even remotely a competitor was Microsoft's crappy little phone that almost had no apps for it either, and it had no marketplace and no ability to distribute the apps. Now, unfortunately, we have Android and we have all these platforms that are just flooded with apps, millions of apps in these marketplaces. So unless Fuchsia can run those apps, even like through an emulator, granted, if they figure out the emulation thing and it's backwards compatible and you can run Android apps, because remember, Microsoft almost did that.
Well, Apple did do that, moving from a legacy system to OS X. They had that compatibility layer. It was called, the name escapes me, Rosetta. So that would allow you to effectively boot into the old OS and use the old
because they were based on PowerPC architecture, so you had to
no, even before this is long before they even switched to Intel.
Were they doing do you know if it was like VM based, like it was a virtual machine?
It had to have been a virtual
They were
machine.
emulating the whole old operating system.
So it was
for his super chat.
What's that?
Thank you, Corey, for your super chat.
Well, thank you, Corey. It's very, very nice of you, Corey. Very generous. Thank you, sir. Did we miss another one, or was there another one before?
No,
okay. Well, Corey, you're awesome. Absolutely love you, Corey. If I wasn't married, bro.
Yeah, he wasn't feeling well yesterday, so hopefully.
Oh, he wasn't? Well, Corey's feeling better now, aren't you, Corey? Yeah, you are. Just go get yourself a beer, but only if you're 21. Wink. That's advertiser friendly, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just making sure. I still think that picture was plenty advertiser friendly. You just don't say what it is.
It's a rocket ship.
It'd be like advertiser friendly for Viagra.
Sorry, I've lost my train of thought.
Sorry.
Chris lost his train.
Liz, I can produce this.
What is happening? I'm like seeing cues. See, these guys have worked together forever, so they know all their little visual cues and communication. And it's like, I don't know what's going on here. I'm like...
So, we do have a new super chat from Tony Yoon. Question number 561.
Okay.
For me, not for you, but this is for you. If Microsoft is so rich and was lacking apps, why didn't they just code it themselves?
Oh, pure manpower. There's the amount of developers that you would need to actually create a marketplace that had that sizable app collection that covers everything would be astronomical. Not to say they couldn't do it. I mean, they got enough money. So I guess that's kind of a good question.
Yeah, but does Windows really have too much of a feature on the desktop? I mean, you've got gaming, but NVIDIA's working on that in-browser thing that seems to be doing fairly well. It may not win over the PC gamers, wouldn't win over the modders, but in terms of Microsoft as a platform, now they got Windows 10 as a service more than anything, which I don't mind all that much, but I'm a different kind of user. Does it have a future on the desktop?
The thing is everything, and this is where I always come back to, is everything's developed on the desktop. Everything, all your content creation as far as applications, programming, everything. It's not practical to do it on anything but a desktop or maybe a laptop. But still, you need something with a keyboard. You need something with a mouse. You need something that can have a ton of devices, ton of storage, all that stuff. So I think the desktop's always going to have to exist. But do I think Microsoft's going to keep pursuing improving Windows? I think Windows 10 is the last Windows we'll ever see. It's going to be in perpetual upgrade, but Windows 10 is going to be the end. Microsoft's not going to go back to square. They're not going to try to design a ground-up operating system again. Their focus is on just improving the UX experience on mobile devices, like laptops and tablets and stuff like that. And then the desktop is kind of a second-hand citizen now. But
That's what it feels like.
But they're always going to have to keep the desktop around because that is you can't practically sit down with a tablet and develop Halo, for instance. You need computers, you need big screens, you need big storage.
So what's more important, asks Fucho the Clown, UX or productivity? Which one would you choose?
Productivity, hands down. I don't care if the UX looks like Fisher-Price. As a matter of fact, Windows
You're
XP...
thinking UI, not UX.
Oh, you're talking about just user experience. Oh, sorry, I was thinking user
Yeah,
interface. Okay.
I'm not schooling you. You know way more about this than I do.
It was just not clicking in my head. User experience depends on the... Well...
Which would you choose, productivity or user experience?
I mean, I have to say productivity. Because even if the operating system I was using was the worst experience ever possible, but it still enabled me to be able to do the most things that I needed to do, even if it was like pulling nails, I would still pick productivity.
As much as most of what I do is productivity.
Yeah.
I don't really do much else. I'd still be inclined to lean more towards user experience, if only because...
I'm kind of conflicted because if you think about it, I mean, productivity, you'd have to have a decent user experience to be able to have any kind of productivity.
But productivity was like, you knew you had to jump through all these hoops, and you knew you had to do it this way, that way, the other way.
Sure.
And to get a task accomplished.
I call that Adobe Premiere, by the way.
So why I like doing live video rather than
pulling teeth, but I still use it because I get the best result.
Having that user experience... or lack of user experience, or I guess a watered down user experience, to me it could be counterintuitive to productivity or counterproductive to productivity.
Right. Generally, the simpler something is to use, the less you can do with it.
And I think that's where I would lean. I would lean more towards a more cohesive UX over productivity because I was very productive on an iPhone, but in effectively switching or modifying my approach and accepting what Google's produced in Android Oreo 8.1 or whatever, I found that I am actually more productive with a cleaner UX. So I was productive on iOS, but I think I'd always steer towards a more cohesive UX more so than productivity. Because to me, a cohesive UX would yield a higher productivity.
And that's where I was confused by the question because I don't think you could really have, but I think Adobe Premiere actually would be the quintessential, for me it'd be like the quintessential example because I do fight it hook, line, and sinker. I could go back to Sony Vegas and it would be much easier for me to use. It would make more sense, but the product that came out in the end wouldn't be what I wanted. It wouldn't, so I guess I'm willing to put up with the pain.
Piero Alberto Montas Almonte comes in with a super chat, says, any thoughts on Uncle's Bill New City?
Have no idea what he's talking about.
I don't either. What Uncle Bill? Like, would that be Bill Gates' New City?
That's what I thought. But like, what do you mean? What is his new city?
Yeah, if you don't know.
I honestly know nothing about this. But then again, I mean, to be fair, I follow Elon Musk more than Bill Gates these days. Because Bill Gates, I mean, I still follow Bill Gates on everything, but I don't really pay attention to a lot of his posts because like everything he does is philanthropy. Don't get me wrong, I love what the guy's doing, but I really wish that he would at least take 1 week out of his year just to come back and kick Satch and Adele in the teeth a couple times.
Apparently, he's trying to build a new city. That's what everyone's saying in the comments.
If anybody could do it, it'd be him.
It's not me. This is Jerry.
He purchased land outside of Phoenix.
How are you doing, Chris?
Nate Thibodeau comes in with a super chat. How much has Windows 10 auto updates caused you issues?
Oh, massive. Like, why do you think I keep making these videos that get like 1 million views trashing on them?
Yeah, but haven't you also turned off a lot of that telemetry?
Yeah, and that's actually caused me more problems now. And I have to make another video. So here's what happens, is Microsoft is not very good at testing scenarios that are not default scenarios. Let me give you an example. Microsoft has a test case that says, oh, boot up the operating system and open up Edge and go from Edge to Google and make sure the page loads or whatever, or Bing. Make sure the page loads. They don't have a scenario for, oh, boot up the computer and then open a different web browser instead of Edge because Edge isn't there because I deleted it off the computer. So, because they never tested these scenarios, I go in and use DISM to remove something from the operating, which is the package manager for Windows. I go in there and I remove the package and it lets me. The operating system says, okay, you've given me the magical command. I'm going to go ahead and remove it. And now the system is having errors all over the place trying to look for the thing that I removed. System restore stops working because system restore says, oh, we can't put your restore point back because one of the checks they do is to make sure that Edge configuration is correctly, but I've removed it. So even though the backup that I made didn't even include Edge to begin with, it can't restore it because it's so dead set on trying to put something back that isn't there.
So wait, if you're effectively modifying Windows to the point where
Within its bounds.
breaking it.
I'm not hacking though. I'm
No,
using their
I'm not
tools to remove
suggesting
it. Yeah.
Right, but to the point where Windows breaks, why are you still using Windows?
Well, because I don't have Adobe Premiere on Linux and I don't like Macs. I love iOS.
So
I hate OS 10. OS 10 I hate with a passion.
Well, OS 10 doesn't exist anymore. It's now Mac OS.
It's now Mac OS?
Yeah, so you don't have to worry about OS 10.
It's actually good that they made that change, though, because sitting on a number for too long can cause you too many problems. And plus, it was probably getting crosstalk and confusion with Windows 10.
Well, now they brought back the iPhone 10. And
Yeah, the iPhone X. Yeah, oh, that was really good. Remove it from one thing and put it on the other. They should have just did like Microsoft and just everything runs the same operating system. Because it actually effectively does. Did you know that the Windows phones actually run a full-blown Windows 10 kernel?
Oh, I believe it.
So, and that was the reason why I got laid off, actually. The reason that Microsoft laid off the test division inside of Windows is because they merged the 3 product teams, which were all unique entities. Xbox had its own test team, development team, and management team. So did Windows Phone. So they decided to get rid of the Windows management team. They decided to get rid of the Xbox management team, and they put the Windows Phone management team in charge. Don't ask me why. Buddy system crap. And so now they have one set of managers, one set of developers, one set of testers across the board because they wanted to merge everything together. And I was actually a little bit of a part of that right before I left. For about 6 months, we were working on stripping down the kernel and making the kernel compatible to run on the Windows Phone using the RT. The whole reason Windows RT actually happened, like running it on the tablet and everything.
Wasn't that ARM?
It was ARM. Yeah, it was literally ARM. Was the reason for doing that was to cut down the kernel and the hardware abstraction layer and everything down to their most minimalistic component they could run on something small, and then building it up for the desktop OS. And that's why Windows 10 seems so fast. And you'd be right. If you run Windows 7, you run Windows 10, Windows 10 will smash Windows 7 in every benchmark. Load time, app loading time, waking up from sleep, all of these things. And it's because they really, really refined the kernel to be able to run on this tiny little thing. And the added benefit was now you put it on these big, super powerful computers, and it benefits from it. It's very fast.
Do you have an opinion on DaVinci? I don't know what DaVinci is. I don't have...
Oh, DaVinci Resolve, the editing software.
Oh, yeah.
So Blackmagic, the company that makes the capture cards, you're probably familiar with them, right?
I had one for like a day, and I'm like, this is just a horrible user experience.
Back in the day, they used to make the most amazing capture hardware ever, and for some reason in the last couple of years, I agree with you, they've fallen off. But they created their own editing suite. They decided to come to the table because the world was being ruled by Adobe Premiere and Final Cut Pro.
I'm a Final Cut Pro.
Yeah, and a lot of people are, but Final Cut Pro is rarely used in like television and movie production. It's used in like marketing videos and stuff like that. Still very powerful, just not. That's why Adobe Premiere pretty much wins out, is because Adobe Premiere has After Effects, Photoshop, Illustrator, team building tools, 20 other apps that allow huge groups of people to collaborate on projects. So Adobe kind of won, even though Adobe was kind of the buggier solution. But now Resolve comes out of left field, and they've got some of these features too, like you can have teams editing the same video at the same time and cutting things into the timeline separately. And they have GPU acceleration, which Adobe Premiere has really struggled with. So if you have a computer like mine that has 2 ginormous GPUs in it that can do 1,000 times the work of the CPU, you now have a computer that's capable of editing video 1,000 times faster than what Premiere could do on the same system.
So is DaVinci then just Windows?
Resolve. It's the name. No, it's just the name of a cross-platform editing suite that runs on Linux. I think it runs on Linux, OS 10, and Windows. Or sorry, Mac OS. And but DaVinci Resolve, my biggest problem with it is their workflow is really weird. They kind of try to go their own way with what they think video editing should look like. And since I'm so used to the conventional way of editing that's pretty standard across most things, like I could use Final Cut Pro in 10 minutes. I could go between Adobe and Final Cut Pro. I couldn't do it with Resolve. But I will tell you this. If you are new to video editing and you've never been contaminated by Final Cut Pro or Adobe Premiere in the workflow, Resolve is free, number one. They just give it away for free. You only have to pay $299 for a license if you want noise reduction and the 4K rendering. If you don't need those 2 things, they just give it to you. It's free. The other cool thing is you can buy hardware for it to do all the scrubbing and everything. Like if you want to buy like a studio board to control the timeline and everything, right. They sell a small one, they sell a big one. The small one's like, I want to say like $1,000 or something. The big one's like 10,000. Wow. But so and it seamlessly works with it. It's like designed to just plug in and work. So I would say DaVinci is coming for Adobe's throat pretty hard in the video editing world. And they've got a lot of effects built in as far as like 3D and stuff like that. So they're kind of doing the same thing After Effects is doing, but building it into the product. But it's nowhere near a competitive package, in my opinion. What most people use it for now is color grading. Like apparently the color grading it is phenomenal. Easy to use, super fast. You never done any color grading?
I don't care.
Dude, it's fun.
It's not.
You can change the tone of a scene, man.
I am so good.
Yep.
So David Stevens comes in with a super chat, says, people still use Windows? So yeah, you still use Windows.
People still use Windows, dude. The most of the world uses Windows.
Really? You sure about that?
Desktop operating system.
As far as a desktop operating system.
If you're talking servers, then of course Linux is going to win hands down on the server.
I'm talking about real computers like smartphones.
Oh, like smartphones? Oh, haha,
These
lols.
are real computers.
Haha, lols.
Very, very real computers.
I'm going to let you in on a little secret, guys. 99% of what was developed and runs on that device was developed on a PC running Windows.
Well, that doesn't surprise me. Still, this is what we have today. It looks like, according to the time, we've got a few more minutes, maybe about 5 more minutes.
Yep.
Then we'll wrap up and head over to Twitch, twitch.tv/Chris Pirillo.
Yeah, we're trying to drag you guys over to the Twitch channel, so would you just stop kicking and screaming and get your butts over there?
They join. Like, generally speaking.
All right.
I got
Well, how many people are in here right now?
Right around 300.
All right, so we got about 300 people in here. I expect to see at least 298 of you over on Twitch.
That's probably not
And
going to
it's
happen.
uncensored.
And it's uncensored, which
very
means all the
uncensored.
stuff I've been holding back, it's coming out of this mouth.
Yes, it is.
And if we don't get 300 people over there, I'm going to just ransack this entire room, and Chris is going to have to call the cops.
That's going to be sad.
So there's a lot of action figures. You would never be able to put them back in their original order.
Probably not. They need to be dusted anyway.
I could actually see Chris actually having pictures. That was like perfect timing for that music, by the way. It was like kind of like it started off a little sad. It was like no.
Well, she just likes playing. It's one of those electronic snow globes. Anything that she can reach is, well, as you very well know, is going to get played with.
Well, I hope that you guys join me for my morning coffee too. You know, how many of you guys wake up at 8:30 a.m. in the morning, Pacific time?
It's noon for me, so I joined.
Oh, you do? Yeah. You're one of my mods, aren't you?
No, I
Do
could be.
you want to be a mod?
Yeah.
I'll mod you. I mod all my friends. I don't make logical business decisions like Chris does. I just do things.
Yeah, I think maybe I've got I think you're the only mod in the chat room.
Too.
Oh, Eric, yeah, but he's not really there anymore. We don't really do a lot on. I'm trying to do more on Twitch, but I haven't. I'm auto hosting you.
The only reason that I'm super duper interested in Twitch, and I actually have a partnership with them. I signed a 2-year contract with them for their second level of partner. There's partner and there's like super partner. The way they do it's really weird. But the reason I did it is because Amazon. With that infusion of money that Amazon's going to give them, they now finally have a real shot at poking YouTube in the ribs. And they didn't before. So, and it's pretty clear by how fast the platform's been advancing in functionality.
Yeah, it's
that
actually...
Compared to what they were doing the previous year, like it was stagnant and then Amazon acquired them, and now you got the bit system. Now they just expanded that, so now like you can get it in the UK and stuff like that. Now they got the sub thing where you can buy a sub for another person. Like if you like somebody in the chat, you have a conversation, you can get them a sub to the channel. They what was the other feature that they just added? Gosh, I'd have to go look at it. But it seems like every week I log in, the dashboard has another. Oh, we just did this, or we just had the game thing. Where now you get free product keys and swag and loot and stuff that you can just give away to your fans or use yourself. And the more you stream, the more stuff just starts showing up in there.
Interesting.
They've got the integration with bots now is a lot better too. So there's a lot more bots and stuff. And then they just released that new thing that I haven't used yet where apparently you can do animation elements and stuff and add on the display, but they can be disabled by the end user.
Oh, interesting.
So they run on the cloud, and then it shows an OBS, but they can disable it. So on theirs, if they just want to see a video,
there's extensions now.
Yeah, that's what it is.
New. Yeah. I was looking at that today.
Yep.
Just to see if I can kind of fiddle with it.
And anybody can program them too. That's the cool thing.
I'll be doing more Twitch. What the heck?
I don't know.
What just happened?
I don't.
Mac.
Somebody
posted a screenshot.
I was like, what was that?
Let's see, hold on. What did he say? Oh, just a screenshot.
The question that I just posted, it's someone who did a super chat earlier, so.
What?
Oh, command prompt or PowerShell. I still use command prompt because 99% of what I need to do is easy to do just with batch scripting and stuff like that. But obviously PowerShell is a billion times more powerful. And if you're a power user and a person that wants to script your way through life, PowerShell is the way to go. Now, I did create a PowerShell script that allows me to open a shortcut for anything and assign it to a CPU and even the logical core. So I can say, Adobe, I want you to run on one thread on my CPU. Hello.
Wait, are you talking to the potato chips that Diana brought, or are you talking
No, I was talking to the little potato chip.
Well, I'm going to swap you spots.
I want to give her a hug real quick, though. Come here. Can you come here? Give me a big hug. Oh, you don't know how much this means to me, guys, because she used to be shy a year ago, and she'd look at me like, big scary monster. All right, close it out. You guys better come over to Twitch.
Yeah.
Lots of potty mouth. All right.
Indeed. Oh, there we go. David Stevens came in with a super chat. I'm waiting for you guys on Twitch. We'll be there in just a few minutes. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. As you very well know, we do TLDR every weekday here in this channel, youtube.com/LockerGnome. I publish a video every day in the other YouTube channel, youtube.com/Chris Pirillo. That's where we do TLDR on the weekends, constantly doing new things, of course, on a regular basis. Twitch, I'm starting to do. I have been recording the podcast over there on a daily basis, and then started to do Chris Pirillo Uncensored as of recently. While you're there, you can become a sub. Join us in Discord. That's the only way to get into Discord through Twitch. You can even do it for free if you have your Amazon Prime account connected to your Twitch account. You can also join Discord chat by becoming a patron at patreon.com/Chris Pirillo, but you probably already knew that. It's the only way to get into Discord. It's a great little community. It's pretty much the foundation of our community. 24/7, it's open. There's your three-finger salute. I'm not actually going to do a three-finger salute. I've kind of moved on. I'm now just a single-finger kind of guy, a wag of the finger towards the end of the broadcast. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, Jerry, a.k.a. Barnacules Nerdgasm.
That's what it says on the shirt, Chris.
Coming over here. Diana will feed you well. This is what we do. She feeds everybody very well around here. So thank you. We will see you over on twitch.tv/Chris Pirillo. Links in the video description. I love you. I appreciate you. And at this point, I'm going to leave you to your own devices.
Go to Twitch. Go to Twitch now. Do it. Just do it.
May the Force
go to Twitch. Be with you. And go to Twitch. With you at Twitch. Be with you at Twitch. On Twitch. Twitch TV / whatever.